First of all, thank you very much, and for Frank and Quentin and Tom for inviting me to come here. And I'm really enjoyed so far. Really intellectually, actually, it's also nicely in terms of environment. And, in China, there are many things going on those days, and actually, although the title assigned to me called energy and climate, but I find that many policy actually is deliberately for something else, for example, conventional environment. That's the reason I thought maybe better also enter the environmental in my titles. And I will be here a couple of times when I was in Israel Center to attend the China Updates event organized by my colleague, friend, Professor Li Gangzhong and Rose Connors. And because I already experienced a couple of times, I thought is on the one hand, I don't want to say what I already said before. On the other hand, we have T20 as the same. So that reason, in combination, I thought maybe touch on some climate, also some kind of energy price issue, which are probably on the agenda and T20 meetings. So basically, I first give you some kind of very quickly overview of what's going on exactly in China in terms of efforts to improve efficiencies, use renewable energies, and cut emissions. Then is come to this G20 agenda. Partly is there, and also partly this policy energy price subsidies also very crucial if you want to achieve what your goals, and also because this is there, and then how to get rid of them. Then I see, given what China discussion, that I thought the resource tax reform probably is the relative way in the short term to get this issue addressed. Then we always know in China, when you come paper, it's always impressive, but the reality is what's going on. So we also look at some implementation and compliance issues, and then we have the full picture about what's exactly going on in China. For those people who probably know that in China have very impressive in terms of carbon energy intensities in the 1980s and the 1920s. And then actually in 2012, this is a reserve. So this has significant implications, and this is a figure draw based on international outlook, which is from U.S. Energy Information Administration. Basically, you see, based on the U.S. imitation, it was about in 2004 that China would not catch up with the United States, at least until 2030s. But because that reserve of the energy conservation trends, actually China already took over to become the largest emitter in 2007. Partially because the economic growth between 2000 and 2007 similar as 1980s and 1920s, but the energy growth twice than used to be. So that was exactly already happened. So given this pressure, and China really made a commitment efforts trying to reserve this trend. And then in the 11-year 5 plan, they have this energy efficiency reduction target 20%, and then it's further strengthened for the current 5 years running from the 2011-2015. So that is the energy intensity carbon 16s and carbon intensity 70s. That also will be differentiated around province. And then we have this Copenhagen commitment is we will reduce carbon intensity by 40, 45. And given all those things, we all know that the whole country have huge hazard and small pollutions, and actually also significant efforts also made proposed for cut SO2 emission 80% NOx emission by 10%. This is sometimes this kind of target probably even more harder to match than what about this CO2 target. And to change what the government proposed commitment and take a lot of policy and measures. Here I like to highlight a couple of them, which are probably very impressive. And given the energy consumption in that industry sector is among 70%, the first effort made particular in the industry sector. That's also very crucial to meet all the proposed targets. One is the so-called 10,000 energy conservation program, and then is those days also expand to 10,000 conservation plan. First, let me highlight a couple points on the 1,000 energy conservation plan. Basically, that is implemented 2004, and they pick up about 1,000 energy price in the biggest energy biggest industrial sectors, all together account for almost half of energy consumption in industry sectors, about 1/3 in the countries. Collectively, they're trying to achieve 100 million ton of the carbon equivalent, and that was the goal. But in the end, they achieved 150 million from the year 2006 and 2010. Because these successful stories, and also because of very even hard commitment made the government in the next 5 years, and then since the end of 2011, the government officially extended this 1,000 program into 10,000 program. Actually, it covered about 16,000. Even expand from the industries, also including transportation and other sectors with a major polluters. Altogether, it account for 60% of national energy consumption totals, with aim to achieve 250 million TCE cumulatively over a 5-year term. And last month, the government officially did some kind of the assessment of what's going on in this program, and they released the report. Basically, they say about the quarter which already exceeds the commitment set by each year, and almost 90% basically meet the requirement. Of course, there was 10 still fail to meet the target. Overall, for the last 2 years, so this program already met almost 69% of the overall reduction in requirement. And given that, everybody knows the coal is the largest consumption, and the power mostly also from coal. So that reason, and this percentage will be increased year by year. So government made also significant effort trying to shut down all these small, less efficient coal power plant to shut down 50 gigawatt for 5 years. But in then, they achieved 77 gigawatt. That is almost even more than what total power capacity in the Great Britain. And so they met the target 1.5 years and overshooting the target. And in the meantime, they also trying to encourage to build more larger plants. So that reason, you see the look at by the 2012, the 76% of power plant which with unit have 300 megawatt or above, and this have significant impact in terms of efficiency improvement. It cut the coal use for electricity per unit generation almost 13%. And because of nationwide answering issues, so also government mandate for the power plant to equip with the desulfurization facilities. You also see the very impressive figure. Notice 90% already equipped with this equipment. And of course, the renewable energy, I think here the wind, you will see, was also from low level actually catch up very quickly, and now is already far over than what the capacity installed in the United States. And similar here is in the transporting sector. China also set very high efficiency standards, and certainly high. Of course, cannot compare with Japan, EU, but higher than the United States, even higher than California, which considers the most efficient standard in the United States. And now China is trying to have more and more urbanizations, and urban energy consumption contributes 60%. So for that reason, the country implemented the so-called low carbon development program to take up 10 provinces, 32 cities, and also recently NDIC reviewed their performance, basically to see for this 10 pilot province, the efficiency, the carbon intensity reduction is 9.2%. It is very much higher than national average, 6.6%. And also very interesting, actually it's not required by the national government, but within all these pilot province and city plan, they all actually have set their peak, emission peak, and all of them set their emission peak in the year 2030 or earlier. And actually the 15 pilot province and city, they even set the peak before 2020. That is including Shanghai, also including Beijing, and probably also our Guangdong. So if that's the case, then I will feel very more confident than, because I made a proposal just before Copenhagen. I was wrote this paper and request by the vice chair of IPCC and the president of the University of Colorado. And basically, that time I suggest that is we in that country you have carbon emission by 80% by 2050 relative to their 99 levels, and per capita emission for all major countries by that time should be less than world average. But in the meantime, I suggest that China should have the binding emission cap around the 2030s. And actually, this also made the working paper from Israel Center. Stephen was the commentary for, also wrote the commentary for that. So that reason, if the really see what's going on in the pilot cities, then I see that more and more look likely that China would probably cut emission around the year 2030s. And so far, we talked about what's going on in the, basically on the nutrition matters. But because in the 11 5-year plan, we set about 20% reduction in carbon intensities, but in the end, it achieved 19.1%. Of course, almost meet the target. But anyhow, the government learned that the nutrition measure is effective, but not efficient. So there is now given the target commitment for the future become more and more stringent. So they want to use more and more market force, and also the market force turned out also successful and anywhere in Europe in terms of environmental taxation, and also emission trading in the California, and partially also EU ETS. So the government also trying to do this in China. So the point is, do you use environmental taxation or use the emission trading? Here, basically, although outside also consider China National People's Congress, which are China parliamentary stamp institution, but any those states are become more powerful. So that means if you want to have kind of environmental taxation, you also should have legislation. In that reason, it's not possible to use. So then they pick up a gray area. They introduce emission trading as a background. There they can short by the National People Congress, and that was they started this 7 pilot trading program. 5 actually already online last year. Started with Shenzhen. This was China's special economic zone, and then the end of last year was Tianjin, also on the line. And another 2, the Guangdong, another 2, the Zhongxiang and Hubei will be expecting the shortlist. Basically, you see here that as far as in terms of time, Shenzhen is the first one. In terms of the what is the initial pricing on the first day, the Guangdong is highest, almost about $10 per ton. And in terms of the is the volume of trade cumulatively, and Shenzhen now is leading, is already traded over 0.2 million. In terms of the liquidity, the Tianjin is lead, and although they start late compared to other 4, they actually already traded about 110,000 million tons. But overall, it is still largely traded over days and on the daily basis. And now let me come to the topic which are relevant to the G20, and it's also very important if you want to achieve all this the government committee goal. Last November, the government, the Central Committee Party made the key decision to assign the market as a design rules, and these 2 weeks, and there was the National People Congress. Basically, they are meeting now, trying to more or less materialize how to implement all the decision made there. So if you want to have the market play a major role, certainly you should get the energy price right. Otherwise, the market never can be played properly and functioning well. And here, the paper basically I traced a number of the issues in terms of the energy price come to petroleum products, coal, natural gas, electricity, which are many different tariff in terms of the different tariff, and also some renewables. And because time limitation, I'm just mention some of them. One is about coal, because coal is still is the largest dominant energy mix, is account about 60% and at the end of last year. Basically, since 1993, the country has 2 tracks of the system for the coal price. One is so-called price for low power use, which is called the market coal. Basically, that is sold on the market and based on the market price. Another one is so-called power coal, which are used which is the coal which are used for the produce of electricity, this is still set by the government substantially below the price, market price. But as I was mentioned before, because the coal used for the electricity already more than 50%, this share could be increased more and more. So that reason, if you have this kind of the differentiation in the price, so there's really have a lot of the issues. So government made a lot of the change, and finally, and the last in the December of 2012, they finally abolished this two-track system, and they have so-called the coal movement mechanism. Basically, it means that is electricity tariff would be adjusted above if fluctuation in coal price go beyond 5% or more within 12 months, and the electricity generator can allow to pass up 90% increased fuel cost to the grid companies. So that means 12 months or more. So that is all is the window to adjust. But anyhow, government have not take action yet. Partly because this time it's strange. Usually it's always coal price higher than the electricity tariff is low, and they have demand. But this time, because the economic, although Chinese economic growth impressive by Western standards, but by Chinese standards now is not used to be the 2 digits, and so demand of coal is very sluggish, price is very low. Actually, this time, if instead of increased electricity tariff, actually supposed to be decreased if they follow these rules. That reason they have not really decided whether they should go ahead or not. And similar, also the power I said is consumer the 50% coal, so the power tariff also very important. But so far, basically, all set by government. But in the meantime, because given the nationwide pollution, particularly as SO2 and also the hazard and the smart, so they mandate the company to desalination and denitrification facilities. But given the tariff was fixed, how to do that? So the government offer the premiums. For example, for the sulfurs, they are of premium 2006. That was the reason I show you that since 2001, 90% already equipped with this facility, because it's offer to them more or less to match the real cost plus some other favorable term. And then major point actually for this 5-year plan is how to reduce NOx. And then since November 2011, they offer premier for electricity, which equipped with the denitrification within 14 provinces. And then the result was very disappointing. Then finally, since January 2013, they expand to the nationwide. They also increase the premiums. So very hard to say, because it is still by the company standpoint is still at least 20% more or less than the real cost the company will show us. The reason how the company will be placed still need to see. So they also offer the differentiated power tariff, which basically depends on the company whether it's in the sector which government want them to develop it, or it should be restricted and should be resumed. Now let me mention subsidies issues, and even I mentioned the market coal, which are basically, is set by the government, but actually, if it's purely by the economic viewpoint, it's still not fully reflect cost of production, because the many factors which still are distorted price and control the cost. So if you add this kind of together, the cost of coal at least have to be increased by 54. If you end up the external cost without consider CO2, will be end up the 70s. And if you based on the IMF calculation, which include the external cost for the CO2, so then you find the total total tax subsidies in China will estimate to 236 billion, which account about 3.2% of the Chinese GDPs. So then question is, everybody know that reducing subsidies is good and better for environment and also for efficiencies. So how do you do that? And then I mentioned the resources tax reform. If you follow the China story, it's over the last 10 years, each year the coal production increased by 200 million tons. And last year, the first year, they actually keep that increase only 1/4 previous, so that is 15 million tons. And basically, if China want to meet their so-called emission target, basically a lot of studies estimated that the coal consumption has to be capped, peak in the year 2015 to 2020, then emission will peak in the 2025 to 2030. So if you want to do that, you certainly need some economic policies. And now I said before, environmental taxation, energy taxation is infeasible in short term because it still takes time from a legislation point of view. And then what other kind of tax could be possible? Given the resource tax, which are tax assigned to the local government, actually local government now have a huge responsibility but suffer from lack of the resources and the revenues. So combination this then probably the overall resource tax probably is the short-term solutions. So then the question is we need to change the way current tax levy basically now is based on the quantity rather than the price. So that reason that kind of level we set in 1984, but now over 24 or 5 years later, and the price go very high, but it's still based on the quantity. That was revenue very small. And also the only covered 7 type that is also very need to be expanded. And then, so the China have started reforms from Xinjiang for the oil and the gas and levied and 5%, and then they expand to the national line 2011. Now I said for the coal, they was proposed and also can follow this way, and the proposed tax rate will be 2 to 10%. So let me quickly mention a couple of points about this, is implementation compliance related issues. And the one I here said is, we have this very impressive installation of the desalination capacities. Of course, this is one thing, but the point is whether you use it. That was a fundamental issue. Basically, they have a lot of inspections by NDIC, by Ministry of Environment. They find, many they actually don't really, they don't use it. But if you use it, don't run continually and reliably. So, and this is not only applied to the electricity sector, but also applied to the iron and the steel sectors. So then the point is they have some estimation that if your country will meet the standard set by government, the emission is supposed to be 1.44 million SO2 emission in the 2012, but actually it was emitted by 8.83. So certainly here there was a huge gap between the standards and the implementations. And another issue here is about the reliabilities. And we all see that the government set this energy intensity reduction target. And so certainly then you have to reliable both energy statistics and also the energy consumptions. You will find actually this is the number they mentioned. There was before there was initially the report only 1.23%, and then later on, there was just over years that become 2.74%. Only 1 year figure you are just over 100%. This is certainly with the reliability issues, and this reliability issues that was on the national level. Actually, it's even bigger and the local levels, and that one not only local government overstate the GDP, but also they have very poor energy statistic data, and they recently also the NDIC they examine how the progress in terms of reduction of energy intensity. They actually found if you based on the national statistics, from 2011 2012, energy intensity reduction by 5.5%. But if you based on the local statistics, they actually already 2.7%. This is overstated. So this is a very big issue. And given the time limitation, I'm just stop here. And basically, we see that indeed the country made a very impressive effort and set a very strong target and made efforts. And certainly, is the China air pollution probably much worse without such effort. At least I can compare it because I was stayed 11 years in Israel and Hawaii, so I certainly can compare it with the difference. And then the government take the policy to try to do that, and certainly get the energy price right. That certainly will help. But anyhow, that is only first step, and you have to internalize all these kind of external policies. Resource tax reform is the first step, but later on they have to be more and more follow the environmental tax reform and environmental tax and emission trading used widely. And then meantime, and the implementation is the key. And here, also you check what is really done, and also reliability in terms of statistics, and that's also important and give the overall picture. Okay, thank you very much.